He was the most gifted footballer Liverpool had produced in a generation. Fans called him the Little Magician. Jurgen Klopp called him one of the best players in the world. Then, in one transfer window, Philippe Coutinho chased a dream to Barcelona, and it destroyed him. This is the story of how the man who nearly won Liverpool a title became a footballer nobody wanted. And it starts with a decision he was warned not to make. Philippe Coutinho arrived at Liverpool in January 2013, a shy 20-year-old from Inter Milan who'd barely made an impact in Italy. Nobody expected much, but within months, his vision, his close control, and his eye for the impossible pass had Anfield falling in love. Playing behind Luis Suarez and Daniel Sturridge, Coutinho became the heartbeat of Brendan Rodgers' side, the man who made the unplayable pass look routine. In February 2015, with his reputation only growing, he signed a new long-term contract. Liverpool believed they'd found their long-term talisman. Then Jurgen Klopp arrived, and Coutinho's game reached another level. Freed to roam, drift inside, and dictate play, he became the focal point of Liverpool's revival. The 2016-17 season was the best of his career. 14 goals, a Champions League hat-trick against Spartak Moscow, and a stunning free kick against Manchester United that will live forever in Anfield folklore. He was Liverpool's top scorer that season and one of the most feared attackers in Europe. Barcelona came calling that summer. Liverpool said no. The club's ownership publicly declared he would not be sold under any circumstances. But the seed had been planted. Coutinho wanted Barcelona, and he wanted it badly. In August 2017, while still recovering from a back injury, he stunned the club by submitting an official transfer request, just hours after Liverpool had publicly stated he wasn't going anywhere. The relationship was fractured. Liverpool held firm through the summer, refusing to sell. Coutinho returned to the squad, scored goals, even notched a hat-trick. But the writing was already on the wall. He had made his decision. He simply had to wait for the next window to open. In January 2018, Liverpool finally gave in. Barcelona paid over £140 million, a British record transfer. Coutinho got his dream move. He was 25 years old, at the peak of his powers, joining the biggest club in the world. On paper, it looked unstoppable. In reality, it was the beginning of the end. Barcelona already had Lionel Messi. They already had their system. Coutinho, the free-roaming architect of Liverpool's attack, was about to be squeezed into a shape that was never built for him. The struggles started almost immediately. Coutinho never truly found his role. He was shuffled between midfield and the wing, never given the freedom that made him special at Liverpool. By 2019, his value had already dropped by tens of millions of euros. He was loaned to Bayern Munich, and in the most brutal twist of fate, watched his parent club Barcelona get humiliated 8-0 by Liverpool in the Champions League. He scored twice that night, against the club that made him, for the club that no longer wanted him. It was a moment that summed up his entire Barcelona nightmare. The Barcelona wanted rid of him, but nobody was willing to pay anywhere close to what they'd spent. Coutinho went out on loan again, this time to Aston Villa, reuniting with former Liverpool captain Steven Gerrard. It was a chance to rebuild. It didn't fully work either. He eventually left Barcelona for good in 2022, his once world record transfer reduced to a cautionary tale. From there, the path led further from the game's biggest stages, a loan to Al Duhail in Qatar, and eventually back to where his career began, Vasco da Gama in Brazil. The magician who once lit up Anfield had come full circle. Philippe Coutinho's story isn't just about a bad transfer. It's about what happens when talent chases a dream instead of trusting the place where it already thrives. At Liverpool, he was untouchable. At Barcelona, he became a cautionary tale. Today, the question that follows him everywhere is simple. What if Philippe Coutinho had just stayed? If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to Oki Tips for more deep dives into football's biggest rises and falls.